Good morning, good morning, good morning. We're backstage laughing at ourselves. Michelle, they got you in the middle of a laugh. Good morning and welcome to your business in digital. How are you this morning?
Good Monday morning. It's going to be one of those days, I see.
Right?
Good morning. Good morning.
So let's get into the show. Let's get the intro kicked off. Good morning, everyone. Hey, good morning, and welcome to your business in digital. This is the show where we talk about how to translate your business to digital. We understand that it's daunting, right? So many tools, so many solutions, so many things to consider while running the day to day operations. So that's exactly why we do this show for small businesses to really think about how to move their business forward in digital and achieve those business goals. So we are here every Monday and Wednesday at 7 a.m. talking to you about your business in digital. Super excited to always be here. And of course, we want to do a quick recap of the last show. So, in the last show, we talked about consistency, right? We talked about content consistency, but we talked a lot about consistency in general. As a small business, many times we are busy doing a lot of things, and sometimes we find ourselves, not being as consistent as we need to be in the digital landscape, right? So, consistency is really important for your business because it helps you to, do these 7 things here on this slide. So, really build familiarity with your customer base, right? If people are just getting to know you, if they see you consistently showing up, and consistency doesn't mean every day, right? It just means consistently showing up. They get to know a little bit more about you. If you're consistently showing up and you also are talking to them about, maybe industry insights, your expertise, they start to really, you start to earn their trust. And then the other thing is that they stay top of mind. You stay top of mind as a small business when they're looking for your product or service, if you have built that familiarity and if you've earned their trust. The other thing that it does is it helps to reduce that churn, right? So it means that if you have people with you, you understand how long they're going to stay and buy from you. And maybe they don't move away if you're consistent. They're like, oh, you know what? They're the right solution for me. They're always updating their information. So lots less people leave you and more people stay with you, right? Just like sometimes email subscribers. So you want to consider how they leave. And then sometimes they may come back, but sometimes you're acquiring new people and it always costs more to acquire new people. So you really want to reduce that churn. Simplifying the customer journey, right? When you are consistent, it simplifies the customer journey because they know exactly how to get to you. They know how to connect with you. They know where to find you. So it makes it really easy for them to find you and do business with you. When you're consistent, it also improves the overall experience because they're seeing you consistently. They get it, right? I use that word consistently so many times, but they're seeing you more and more and more. And of course, it helps to give a better experience because they understand a little bit more about you, your brand, how you work with your customers. They understand more. So it definitely improves that experience with the customer. The other thing is that it helps to boost ROI. So it helps to boost your return on investment. So consistency is definitely key. And we want to make sure that you're doing all the marketing activities that actually drive revenue for your business. Those are the things that you want to do consistently. You want to post content consistently. You want to run ads consistently. If you find that something has been working for you, take that information, pull it together into what I like to call your magic formula, and do that consistently because that really gets you to making that revenue in the bank and leveraging digital to get you to that place of achieving your business goals. So I'm going to bring the team back to the stage to talk a little bit about consistency. Last week, that was it was a hot topic, right? Because, well, it wasn't a hot topic like we usually have the hot topics, but I remember talking to 3 different people, 3 different clients, and the big thing that stood out to me was that they just weren't being consistent with things that worked, and they got caught up in the shiny object, right? So I really wanted to really reinforce the importance of people really being consistent with all their marketing activities.
Listen, such a relevant conversation we had. We, off the bat, we talked about it's something that we all feel the pressure of, right? Staying consistent. And those are, 7 reasons, to stay consistent. Boosting ROI, we should have like flipped it around, started with boosting ROI. And especially when we expect so much from our marketing, right? We expect it to happen quickly, and it doesn't always happen like that. Sometimes you need that consistency to learn and find that sweet spot.
Go ahead, Michelle.
No, it's a Monday, right? I think some of the takeaways that I pull from it is that consistency can look different, and it's not just your activities that are in front and client facing. It's what are you doing behind the scenes to keep your business moving forward as well. Many things that we're doing that are intentional to move our business forward happens offline, and that's equally as important as the activities that you're doing that are client facing, to have that sense of practice and muscle memory in place, that you're consistently, again, doing things on a regular basis, and that it becomes a habit for you and something that you don't have to think about doing always, that it's something that's in your rotation and something habitual and a best practice for you.
The part that I love is that it doesn't have to be everything. We said the shiny object syndrome, right? We get really caught up in the shiny object, but you could just pick one thing and just do it consistently. So it's something that, as a small business owner, it's a little palatable. It's easier to digest, right? We talk about this all the time as being a small business owner. There's so many things going on. We wear all the different hats. It's really good that, as much as we're saying be consistent, you could just take one thing and be consistent with it and start to see the results. And then maybe 6 months later, add another thing to it, or replace it, and be consistent with that. So I think that was the takeaway that I think I want small business owners to remember. We're saying be consistent, yes, but it doesn't have to be consistent with everything. Pick one thing that is working for you and be consistent with that.
Agreed 100%. It's about being consistent with the things that are working, right? That's really what it is. If it's working, do that. If it's not working, stop doing it. Do not chase the madness. All right. So consistency, awesome, awesome conversation. So, all right, we got some stuff to do. So we want you guys to connect with us on YouTube, connect with us on LinkedIn, connect with us wherever podcasts are found, right? We're on Spotify, Apple, Amazon, Google. Subscribe, check us out. We are trying to build our YouTube following, so we definitely want you to subscribe there. But if you prefer to listen somewhere else, do that too. We're not mad at it once we're getting you to listen. And share this information with a small business. Let them know that we are out here talking about digital and how to really be impactful with your digital marketing activities, how to make sure that you're doing the activities that matter and get you to that bottom line of the money in the bank, right? You're setting all these business goals and you're doing some of it offline. So we're helping you translate that to digital. So listen to us, find our podcast, follow us on YouTube, check us out on LinkedIn, all the places that we are. The other thing we want you to do is test the effectiveness of your online presence, right? You have an opportunity here to take the quiz and understand where you are currently. Do you have a strong online presence? Great. If you do, that's amazing, because it means now that you're ready for those new activities that can add to what you're already doing. All right. Do you have a medium online presence? Good to know, because now you understand, okay, here are the things that get you to a place where you have a strong online presence. And if you have a weak online presence, you always want to know where you are so you can build from there. And having a weak online presence means that you're simply not driving revenue through your digital presence. Having a strong online presence means that you are driving revenue, you are achieving your business goals there. And having a medium online presence simply means that you're kind of in between, and there's some things that you can do to make sure that you're achieving those business goals with your digital marketing, with your digital presence, with your digital infrastructure, anything digital. That's what you want to really make sure it's happening for you. So take this quiz, scan the QR code. If you don't scan the QR code, that's fine. We will make sure it is in the description on the YouTube channel. So go to our YouTube channel, hit the link. It's also in the description in the podcast as well too. So hit the link, take the quiz, share this with another small business so they can understand exactly where they are and start building a roadmap of how to move forward. All right. I did all the homework, guys. All right. So We are
Well done. I have to say, well done, well done.
it's funny, like moving to no call to actions to now getting to a place where I'm like, my call to action game is getting tighter.
It is, it is.
Thank you so much. All right. So, of course, we're moving on to one of my favorite topics here. And this is what we the hot topics. I always hit the wrong sound effect. Hot topics. So the hot topics this week is brought to you by Andrea. So Andrea, go for it. What are we talking about this week?
All right. So we are talking about Hollywood and football, the Wrexham purchase. So, two Hollywood stars, major stars, Ryan Reynolds and Rob McKinley. I hope I'm saying his name right. They went across the pond and they bought a football club in Wales, in Wales, United Kingdom. Right? They did that back somewhere around 2020, 2021, right, during the pandemic times. They went across there. They found this fifth fifth division ranked club, and they purchased them at a fairly low price. And they started to develop the club. That was an investment for them. But here's the thing about what they did with this low ranking club. They returned it to some glory. You know, the club is now making waves now. They're going up in their rankings. But behind it, they created this genius marketing campaign, right? So they created a campaign that eventually led to a Netflix series, social media accounts exploding, etc. And it's basically your typical rags to riches story. But what I want to take, what I think needs to be taken, there are things that can be taken away from it, right? That's why I love this story. So from the very start, um, they made sure to film key decisions because here's what happened: they buy the club, right, and then they go across there and they start doing their stuff in the background. However, they immediately saw that they saw this as a journey that the fans could follow along with. They're no stranger to a captivating script. So they decided, we think that we could probably use this somehow. We could document this process and eventually share this as content with our community. So from the very start, they made sure to film key decisions, and soon enough, the documentary series Welcome to Wrexham was born, right? And the show has been a resounding success. And they basically put the football club back on the map, and they found newfound support for the club. So behind and beyond the show, though, of course, being two major Hollywood icons, they've also used their massive social media followings to shine an even greater spotlight on the team. So the team is now raking in money. The team now has, massive social media following, and they've now have, a lot of followers, and marketing is paying off. So, what does this mean for a small business? I want to get to the part of what I want a small business owner to take away from this story. I know it sounds large and huge. Well, I'm not no Ryan Reynolds. I can't, um, I can't relate to this story. But here's what I liked about this story. The first thing that spoke to me: one, opportunities can come from outside your space. Ryan Reynolds went across into another country. He went into a small town. He went into an area that was not saturated with people like himself. Meaning, if he had tried to do it back in the States, which I think a couple of articles I read said that they compared the cost that he paid for this club versus what he would have paid if he had tried to invest in a similar sport in the States, of course, if similar leagues, NFL, the NBA, etc. That, of course, would have been very pricey. So he not only left his country and then he went into a whole new bracket, right? So opportunities can come from outside the space that you are comfortable in, right? So you can go beyond where your comfort zone is, and you may be able to find an opportunity, right? The second thing is lean into your strengths. As a Hollywood actor, Ryan Reynolds and Rob McKinley, they understood a good story. They're Hollywood actors. They've been, they star in movies. They understand the whole concept of scripts, and they started filming the behind the scenes content before the documentary was even made. So it's because of that they were able, because of the fact that they had already started filming and they already had the idea, Netflix picked up, they were able to pitch the idea of the series, right? They themselves have no experience in owning a football club, right? But they understood the movies and they leaned into their strength and they saw the potential. And they were able to say, I think this can work for us if we bring our fans, bring the fans along with the journey. They saw the story behind it and they leaned into their strength to be able to be storytellers. And they started to film and the show was born and the show is now a resounding success. And the third thing is marketing piece. So with the successful show and the explosion of the social media account, this has now been leveraged to actually bring in the money. This is where the money now starts to roll in. So with the newfound social media, they have high value sponsorship deals now. So it's no longer just the local sponsorships. They landed deals with TikTok and Expedia, just to name two of them, right? TikTok and Expedia. And ticket sales to the games have also exploded. Right, in 2019, it was roughly 2,600. Now it is over 6,800 of people buying tickets to see their games. Right, there are other metrics like the fact that the club itself has now been thrown into the global spotlight. Rights, the games that they're playing in, the TV rights now are much higher, much more valuable, and they're putting themselves in front of a global space. So as much as it's a nice big, you may think it's a Cinderella story, and there is a little bit of Cinderella-ness in it. But I think those were the three things that spoke to me when I read the story. I was like, wow, you just went outside of your space altogether. They're actually learning Welsh. I read in one article that they were trying to learn the language, right? Because the club is based in Wales. They're throwing themselves into the community and they're going into this outside space, right? So they're looking for that. They're going outside of their space to find the opportunity. And the marketing is paying off. They lean into their strength, which is this whole storytelling. They don't know anything about owning a football club. They don't know anything about it. However, they realized what their strength was, and that's what they brought. And then finally now, the marketing is actually paying off. It's literally bringing in the dollars, right? Literally bringing in dollars for them. So I think those are the three things that, as much as I can say it's a big story, I wanted to bring it down and say, these are the three things that you can take away. Because I think a lot of the times when we read these stories, we don't find it relatable. I too, sometimes when I read these stories, it's like, God, that can't be me. But, sometimes we can't take away these small lessons. And that's my share for today.
Love it. This was a good hot topic. I love this because you're right. It's about the marketing, the fact that they went into a new space, right? Found those new opportunities and they leaned into their storytelling strength. I mean, a Netflix series, of course, sometimes their celebrity played into it, right? Absolutely. But I could definitely see the relatable side of things that you're talking about, because sometimes we're looking for opportunities in that same space that we're in, and it's considering, is there a new market? Maybe did I consider somewhere overseas? Is there a new emerging market that I could be looking at? So I think there are great opportunities there. And then truly getting to that place of understanding your strengths. That's something that we here at Monovan Digital are really trying to lean into, right? And understand where are our strengths as we start marketing other things, as we start, moving our business forward and scaling the business, leaning into our core strengths and focusing in on those things, because that is what drives business, right? So I think it's an important factor. Many times we're taught to fix our weaknesses. You know what I mean? Fix this thing that you don't do very well. Hire for that thing that you don't do very well. Right? I don't believe in fixing my weaknesses, maybe some of the emotional, psychological stuff. As my vulnerable.
It's Monday morning. It's Monday morning.
It is Monday morning.
You gotta understand,
right? But I think it's important for us to, focus in on those strengths, because if we play to that, that's where we really see the growth. So yeah, a really, really great story.
And listen, I gotta chime in here. So this is from a business. This is about the business of sport. This is not about celebrities. This is about the business of football. It's, football in the UK, as everyone knows, is a passionate endeavor. So they use a very focused social media approach. There is a template. There's that North American template for marketing sports. You've got to push ticket sales. You've got to push merchandise. You've got to push your different social interactions with your community, right? And what Ryan Reynolds and his business partner did was insert themselves into all of those pieces of their social media. So they are considered outsiders. They're coming from North America. They made sure things that we have talked about, they were visible and present for the team, for the club, for the township. And to give you some specific statistics, in 2 years, they went from their website alone, they went from 78,000 organic visitors to upwards of 1 million in 2 years. Their social media has jumped, I think, almost just over 650,000 followers across Twitter, Facebook, etc. And they've opened it up to new audiences. So while they got this club, and we can talk about some of the business of it. They bought the club for about 2.5 million pounds, they're saying. The club had millions more in debt. The Disney Plus documentary, Welcome to Wrexham, earned 4 million plus, right? So they are driving revenue for their club, and they are doing it well. So they're very much showing where some of the things we just talked about in the recap from last week: consistency. We've talked about being present, being visible. They are continue to drive brand awareness. And April this year, the club actually got a championship. So there you go.
Wow. Yeah, it's so interesting because when I read the article and then went through a couple of things, because it was on a couple of different media outlets, I guess because I live, close enough to LA, where Los Angeles, where it's, they're broadcasting a bunch of this. And my takeaways were a bit interesting in that, one, from a business owner, he said, I'm going to diversify myself because I'm not going to be in this acting game for the rest of my life. So while I'm at my peak, let me figure out how I take my superpower, what my center of greatness, and apply it somewhere else so that I can, have longevity in other areas while I'm hot, while my 15 seconds of fame or I'm here, I'm still in that seat. Let me do something with that. Two, he said, use me. He and his partner said, I have this name recognition. Let's use me, use us to capitalize on this and move this forward in a global aspect. Let me bet on me. And I'm supposedly, I have a global recognition in the movies that I put out. Let's test the theory and see if we can apply it somewhere else. So I'm thinking A/B testing, like we talk about here. And then the intention. They sat back and said, intentionally, let me build this plan and work this plan. And that's what it was to me, is that they didn't just, it wasn't a trial and error thing. They said, we have a formula that works. Let's apply this in a different space and see where we might need to tweak it. But we have a formula that works. And let's, again, like you said, it's my strength. Let's build upon our strengths and apply it somewhere else. So I thought it was pretty ingenious. It is, step outside your space, diversify yourself, and plan for longevity and sustainability.
And know your target audience, because they had to understand that, of course, the perception is, Hollywood stars buying what they want, people who are not engaged or involved with the sport buying what they want. So their first hurdle was actually getting buy-in of the fan base. Right. It was already an embattled team that the fan base was exhausted, to say the least. To put it in a word, the fan base was exhausted. So imagine they had very clear hurdles that they had to overcome, and they addressed them, as you said, Michelle. They had a plan and they worked the plan, and in 3 years we've seen fruit.
They had a plan, they worked the plan. I love all these things. They had a plan, they worked the plan. Great hot topics, Andrea. Thank you so much for bringing that to the table. All right, guys. Well, we are moving on along, and we are moving on along to, we'll be on the live section. That's my good. Okay, all right. I have to stop laughing. It is Monday morning, right? All right, so go beyond the likes. What are we talking about today? Super excited because I am just going to sit in the back and listen in. I'm going to flip the slides. We're talking about how to understand your customers and define target audience and buyer personas. And who is going to give this amazing presentation? Nobody else but the amazing Michelle Gordon, because this is her zone of genius. So, Michelle, I'm going to kick it over to you. That was a little bit of an evil laugh at the ending there.
Oh,
But
no.
right, I'm going to kick it over to you to jump in and take us through this amazing presentation, because I know target audience and buying personas can sometimes be a little bit of an enigma to folks, right? They are like, the people that are buying from me, are those the right people? And really getting into the heart of this and understanding it really does a lot to shift the business. And I think Michael really opened up in the last, he kind of opened the door for this conversation, because his last point was really about that target audience. So I'm going to kick it over to take us through this. Let's go.
It is. And as Michael normally does, he keeps us on track and segues appropriately and makes sure that we are aligned in where our conversation is supposed to go. So, one of us, Michael, is, paying attention and on our game this morning and knows how to segue into this thing. But yes, this is my jam. This is, one of the places that I tend to geek out on, because it's a place that I live in daily, and in sales and in pricing and understanding where we need to focus our attention. So I'm kind of excited to talk early on this Monday morning about target audience and buying personas, because we all need this information regardless of what our position is in our company and where we sit. This is something that's important to us and can apply to those that are customer facing, as well as those that are behind the scenes, because they need to buy into this as well and understand their role in their communication with the clients for what we often talk about in our continuum, our sales continuum, and keeping the business going. So I'm really excited to share this and to talk about this and to challenge a few of us on a couple of things that we have as we are moving forward today's conversation. So let's get this party started, as Tamara says. So one of the questions that we have in front of us is, well, Michelle, I really don't get what's the difference between a target market, who's the target audience, and what the buying persona is. What are those things? Aren't they the same thing? Well, indeed, there are some similarities. Both of those components, of the target audience and your buying persona, are key in helping to move and helping your sales and marketing efforts and communication with your business forward. But there are some key distinct differences between the two, as well as having some crossover between them. First off, let's talk about the target market, because that's kind of where we start with things. That is referring to a specific group of customers that your business aims to reach for your products or services. So literally, who are the community of people that you are trying to get to pay attention to you? So let's talk about the thing that many people say when I'm speaking with clients on this side. And I've heard in this space, actually, it's actually pretty funny and both frustrating at the same time. Everybody's not your people. Everybody is not your people. There is a segment of people that you are looking to attract. And we just spoke about one of them when we were speaking of what we call football, but in America, we call it soccer. But I'm going with football because it's a global sport, and that's what we need to lean into as being football. But everybody is not your client. There's a specific, group of people that's a target audience that is focused and paying attention to football. So now let's go to the next slide and let's talk about what the buying persona is. A buying persona is that person, if you have to have a picture of the person or persons, that is a representation, a fictional representation of that ideal person that you're trying to speak to for your business model. That's within that target segment. Now, that within the target market is really important for you to pay attention to. And that is really key, especially if you have multiple lines of business. One of the industries that we're going to talk about in a bit is the beauty industry. There are multiple people that you're speaking to within that industry, and everybody's not going for the same thing. So that audience, that buying persona for each specific segment of your business could be different. And that person, that visual, fictional representation of that person could vary pending your segment of business. All right. I want to pause here for a second and get some feedback. Everybody aligned with this? Do you understand that piece of it? Any questions on this component of it?
Yeah, no, I think we do, we understand. I think though when someone hears buying persona and fictional, right? I think that could be a little bit confusing, possibly, because you're like, wait a second. Well, one of the things I love that you hit in here is ideal customer too. So while it's a fictional representation, you may call the person Jane or whatever the case may be. It's really, you're pulling in all the pieces of the people that are better for your business, right? That customer that's coming in that costs you the least amount to get, that follows the path, that does all the things that you are expecting them to do, right? They're not that. So you're pulling those bits of, oh, this is my ideal customer, and here's this list that I'm creating. And that buying persona is not really fictional, but it is it's elements of those ideal customers. And I think we need to lean into that ideal customer piece a lot. So thank you for this slide.
Yeah, and you're right. It is. We say fictional because when you first start, and let's say just there is a cardboard person of a life-size reality that you see when you go places for a reason. There is a physical person that most product lines are putting in front of your face for you to see for a reason. It's because we buy with our eyes. That's one of the reasons why you need that physical representation of someone so that you can then begin to build around what that market is that you're trying to go after. Have someone in front of you so that you understand how you need to begin to relate and speak to that person and provide words to them that they are going to understand and lean into to move the sale and your relationship forward. That's the key nuance in a persona. We're building that lifelike characteristic in that person so that you understand how to relate to that being so that you can then move your business forward. Now let's move on to the next question. What do we have next? Oh, okay. How do we develop a target audience? We're going to end up with this question later on. And what I've looked at is there are a multitude of ways to look at this. But what I've done is consolidated this into 4 different concise areas for us to move different tasks into. And essentially what we're looking to start is with doing a little homework. We need to figure out and conduct research to understand who that target audience needs to be and how do you do that? Well, you're going to use different market research tools, surveys, interviews, to gather insight to determine 3 different things. Your demographics, so that falls under age, what the gender is, where they're located globally or within your country, and income level. Understand psychographics. That's basically what's their lifestyle like, what are their values, what are their interests, and what's their behavior when they're purchasing, where do they purchase and where do they consume information. For instance, where are they in media? Do they read articles in newspapers or through TV? Are they consuming their media online and through a mobile device? How do they purchase things? Are they a person that likes to go into a brick and mortar store, or will they purchase something if they receive a text message off of a mobile device? Those are things that we need to understand in demographics, psychographics, and behavioral components, and conduct that market research and gather that information together, begin pulling that information together. Then we move on to point 2, where we need to take that information and then begin to silo it in a way and begin to segment that information. Now, what does that mean? We want to, if we have multiple different products and multiple personalities that we're dealing with, we need to have some commonalities in that information, begin grouping our customers together on shared needs. What are their profiles for the psychographics? We want to pull those together. Have those that will have behaviors together and begin grouping those people together and understanding what the common characteristics are. And that could be their age group, those that have specific consumption preferences, specific income levels. that we may be able to group them together because their buying behavior and the way they consume and accept information is going to be different. Point number 3, we want to evaluate that segment's potential. Now, that's going to take a bit of information and understanding and assessing a few other things. So we spoke about competition. What is your competitive landscape about? The size of the availability, accessibility for each segment and its possibility for growth. So what's the bandwidth in the green field for you to gain clients in that segment? And then you want to make sure that all of that information is aligned for each segment with your business goals and your values and what you're capable of doing. All of that is going to factor into that equation. And then finally, that 4th piece that we're talking about is to take all of that information, including your business goals, including your competition, and define that target audience. And that will entail developing your detailed buyer persona that's going to represent that ideal client that Tamara was speaking of that's in each one of your segments. We're going to include in each one of those target audiences what the demographic is. We want to understand where their pain resides, what their needs are, where they are preferring to consume their information and to buy for each one of those personas. And then we're going to test it. We're going to revalidate those thoughts to make sure that we are in the right space and going after the right thing. And we do that by doing surveys. We want to do interviews. That survey that Tamara was talking about, that's part of a validation process to make sure that we understand where your potential clients sit, along with your focus groups, understanding your website and your sales and data analytics to revalidate your target audiences and make sure that you're going on the right path to make sure that you are targeting your right community, your people. Now, I've said a lot, so I'm going to stop for a moment and give me some feedback, y'all. What do you think?
Listen, you're on fire this morning. So what I'm seeing here is really a way as well. If you're ongoing business, this is something this is an exercise you want to do as well, right? So what was the market research that you started off the day with? What's the segment that you were going after? Because as well, these things change over time for every business, right? Your offerings change. So you've got to be doing this on an ongoing basis. So I think just a starting point of using these 4 points to verify where you are right now, right? Are you looking at the right segment? Have you really evaluated the potential? I know Tamara and I have gone through a bit of this target audience, and there's so much value into understanding that target audience. There's so much learnings to have that directs your marketing in a way that allows for a better ROI at the end of the day.
I feel like I'm in school. I feel like I'm in school and I feel like I should be taking notes because there's going to be an exam afterwards. But I love how you've broken this down, Michelle. And I really am, internalizing, as Michael said, business owners who are currently in there, they should be doing that. And it's funny because I am going through this phase in my business right now where I am trying to figure out what my target, redefining, not trying to figure out, but redefining and just specifying who I should be speaking to. It's changed from when I first started out, and I love that how you've broken it down. And yeah, you have to really develop this target audience to know who to direct all this effort to, because marketing is a lot of work and it costs a lot of money. And if we're talking to the wrong people, I'm wasting money. You know me, I'm all about not wasting money. So I hear target audience, I see how you explain it, and I'm like, okay, yeah, this is an efficient way to speak to people. But yeah, I'm here taking notes.
I think a big part of the whole Lord. I forgot about the sound effects here.
I was making comments. It's my comment.
Oh my gosh. She's going to be dangerous today because she's taking a different role today. So we are going to be in trouble for the balance of this show. Oh, good Lord. Anyway, let me go back to validate something that you were saying. And Michael, you're right. We have to have a starting point and a place of focus. And for those that have been in this game for a little bit, the redefinition is there and realigning and refining what your target audience is becomes very important as well over the course of time. I know that I can think of at least 3 times that I have restructured what my target audience was for varying reasons. One, I ended up bringing new product on for my calculators, and that required for each one of the segments that I had something different that I needed to focus on and understand what the sales cycle was for that specific audience. A product sales cycle and the target is very different from a service that I'm offering. So I really needed to understand what that was. And then I learned for me as time evolved that I wanted to evolve who I was working with. And that required me to tried and true testing. As I went through a couple of things, I understood that I enjoyed components of some of the clients that I worked with, but realized that my sweet spot, what I call, my superpower, my center of greatness, was really with a different community of people. That wasn't really different. It was components that I had to say, you're not ready for me. You're not quite ready for me. So let me move you to people who are ready and interested in working with it. That just wasn't my interest. And that was something that we have to factor into this equation too, as we're looking at a target audience. Is they might be there and they might be knocking on your door, but are they right for you and what you're trying to do for your business? And that sometimes is a very difficult thing as small business owners for us to accept and to understand. They might be knocking on your door, but you don't need to let them in if that's not your people. And you have to, by doing this work, you will understand that. I actually have in Lanyap, this is a core component of the sales and marketing work that we do. There's a 60-point questionnaire that my clients have to go through in identifying their target audience as well as their buying personas to define and refine and force that effort. So it is a big deal and something that you have to consider always.
I think, Michelle, you might be muted. I see you talking.
Oh, yeah, I am talking. I went on mute for a second. Yes. And hello, Dana. Good morning. Happy Monday. You're right. Refining the target audience is imperative for each of our businesses. A waste of time and a waste of marketing dollars and your money, and a barrier to sale if you're not refining and defining this correctly. And that's the key thing, too. It's going to move your business forward when you pay attention to this area. All right. Now, what is the next question we have here? Examples of a target audience. Okay, so in this area, I went into 3 examples that we're going to end up pulling a thread on and going into buying personas. But I wanted to give 3 examples of target audiences within one line of industry. So in this instance, we're talking about the beauty industry. And the first target audience is a beauty conscious woman. Her age ranges, it's 18 to 30, and she's interested in makeup tutorials, skin care products, and beauty influencers. So now think of the things that I told you earlier. We needed to consider age. We needed to consider interest. We needed to consider pain points. What was their area that they were looking to work within? So that's one. Now, the second one is within the beauty industry. Again, another audience is mature women. And this is a big one that is age bracket is 40 to 60. And she's looking for anti-aging skincare that is holistic, natural, and very wholesome in the products that are offered as far as the solutions. And the third group is completely different from the other 2, in that these are men who are aged 25 to 40. They're interested in grooming because they're all about, their skincare as well, but a beard, talking specifically to as the beard care and skincare for men. Now, that's something that I'm learning a lot about because I'm seeing so much marketing and so much information about it in the beauty care industry. But as I just showed you, 3 different target audiences. The look of each one of these people and their demographics, their psychographics are very different, but all relevant within the same industry. Within the same industry. So what do you guys think? Are you understanding that? How are you relating to that in your own business?
Miss Gordon, I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
These buying personas, right? Mm-hmm. Are they the users of the service, or are they the decision makers? Is there any differentiation between the two?
Oh, we're going to get into that. But yes, there's actually the personas fit within each one of these target audiences. So as we're looking at this, just as you're mentally and you're watching these things, think about this. The conversation that you're going to have with a man that's looking for beard help is going to be very different than a mature woman that's looking for anti-aging, right? Right?
Yes.
The person that you're seeking to attract is going to be very different. And one of the things that you spoke to is very important, and that the person that's making the decision in these spaces, is that what you're seeing on the screen, or could it be someone else? So think about that. Often we have women that are buying things for the men in their lives, right? So we need to, as we're looking at the target audience and that buying persona, need to factor that in to the buying persona for that specific target audience. I think of when you say something like that, of especially holiday season, Mother's Day just passed. So as we are looking to target and speak to those people, we need to factor in not just timing, but who is the people that are going to fit into that, and what's their personality? Where do they buy things? When are they buying? Men are going to, and forgive me, Michael, as I say this, please give me a little space as I say this. The last minute, they don't know what they're talking about. And they're just like, give me something, because if I go home without something, I'm going to be in big trouble. So we need to, as we're speaking, and that falls into the buying persona that we'll get into, we need to be able to react and serve it up when they need it, how they need it, and where they need it. So there are different things versus a woman, as we've been looking for this for a long time. We've been buying and prepping for a long time. So our path to any of this is going to be a bit different, and we'll speak to that as well. And when we're talking in this area, and this one, I find, think about the age groups too. We're speaking in different, I forget what it's called, but millennials versus Gen X versus, us. Where how you speak and where we go are going to be different. Some of these are in the TikTok era, and some of it you better, if you don't send it by snail mail, they'll never ever see the information. Well, our target audiences are going to be different in how they buy. That buying persona is going to feed into each one of these target audiences.
Michelle, I really love this. The breakdown here is amazing. But the other thing is that the target audience really is a broad sector, right? That's where we kind of get really broad as to, these are the people that we're going to get this message in front of. These are the people that we want to buy from us. Once we start getting into those buyer personas, we start to niche down, because we're coming back to saying these are the people that are good for buying for us and good for our business. So we're niching down a little bit more, but this really showcases that broad age range. Here's their interest, but then you still do some refining. And just to go back, I love that you talked about we should be refining our target audience consistently as small businesses, right? And we should be going back to assess, where are we now? Is it a different type of audience? Is it a version of the audience? Is my audience aging with me, or am I just simply in that, or am I always hitting in that same younger audience, that same group? Maybe I'm hitting the 18 to 30s. Am I, are they, once they're past that, can I sell them something different? So it's all the things that you really kind of have to consider as you're defining these target audiences. But understanding, again, where is it's almost like the top of the funnel for your business is the target audience, defining those key buckets at the top of the funnel. And in your funnel, it gets cleaner and cleaner as you get to that ideal customer.
Agreed. I tend to look at airports too, and people can relate to that very well. We all have to go to or leave an airport at some point, but whether or not you're going to arrivals to check in, or you're going to baggage claim to get your stuff because you're already in there moving out, where you go, the target audience is, like you said, the house is the airport. That's the general thing. But as we walk through, we're going to segment into different areas based upon your need. So let's move on to the next section. So question 4, what are buying personas and why are they so important for your business? All right, I need to give a little few whys here. What's in it for you to pay attention to a couple of these things. And it is actually, this is where the rubber meets the road for you and your ability to sell your product or services. If you don't get this right, you're wasting money for your marketing, you're wasting your money and time, and you're losing money because you're going to extend the sales cycle, end up with a lot of abandoned carts and a lot of turn downs and people ignoring you because you're not speaking their language and attracting them and going to the right places that they're in. So let's talk about this, because if you're unable, the buying persona is key, as this says, in helping you to engage and understand what it takes for your client to say yes to you and for you to manage your relationship and your communication with them effectively. It will help you to understand and engage your audience at every step of the buying process. So let's talk about the next question. Oh, let's stop here for a second before I go on. Anybody have any questions on this?
What's going on? What's going on? So I just want to tie this one back to the previous point as well. So, of course, we're talking buying personas, and we must remember that there are business buying personas. If you're in that B2B space, you can be building a buying persona for a business. Then it gets down to the level of who sits in the seat. For example, we are currently working with a client who recognizes that they're in the education space, the higher education space, and they realize because of the changes since COVID that their ideal buyer may now be a younger person than previously that sat in that seat. So that informed the strategy very clearly, right? So that we know now that while we're looking at this buying persona of an organization, say you're a reseller of goods and services. Let's say you are selling parts. Let's say in the auto industry, where you have a lot of subcontractors. You may want to build that business persona, right? What are the characteristics of a business? A business of a certain size, a business of a certain income level. Say financial institutions do it all the time. You need to be making this much in sales to work with me. So personas are even wider. Remember that we do treat businesses and companies as persons legally. They are legal entities unto themselves, and therefore we can build a persona to fit. And then we can get down to the actual point of who sits in that seat. And that's so crucial because, again, as you said, Michelle, it informs how I speak, it informs how I interact, and ultimately close sales in that space.
So let's talk about that one. So I love this. All right. So B2B, business to business, and business to consumer, two different lines of business and approaches that you have to take. I love talking to my clients when we talk about B2B and the light bulb moments that they have, and understanding that process is extraordinarily different, as you said, Michael. And this is key, especially for a number of our audience and our community here. I know a number of you are in the space where you're having your business is escalating and scaling to a business to business model, as well as a business to consumer model, B2C. When you're talking B2B, you do have to consider that business as not just a target audience, but a persona. Do they fit the model that you are looking for your business? Meaning, do they have the components? Have they been in business long enough? Do they have the number of employees that you want to work with? Are they located in the place that you can do business with? Are they mature enough in income as well to deal with your business? Are they your ideal client? That's one thing in your target audience. Then you get into the personas of it. As you are working within businesses, you may find that you have 2, 3, 4 levels of individuals that you may need to work with, that you need to understand what makes that person tick and how they're engaging in the buying cycle. Where do they fit in that sales cycle? You have the barrier of entry, the person that opens the door for you, that's there to check you off of a list. Do you qualify for them as well? So do you understand who that person is, why they're in that role, and how you need to convince them to pay attention to you? Do you need to educate them about your business? Are they, a 21-year-old in this entry-level position? How do you need to speak to that person? Then you may have an influencer, someone that's not the gatekeeper, but the influencer that knows enough to be dangerous, but may sit in a country somewhere else. So you need to understand that. And then you have, as Andrea said, are they the real decision maker? Somebody with a title who comes with a specific level of education at a certain income level, located in a specific place. Your talk track for that person may be very different from the person that was your barrier to entry. So you have to consider multitude of target audiences, as well as buying personas within a specific target audience when you're speaking B2B, business to business. Business to consumer is leveled as well and requires you to answer a bunch of questions and to qualify them as well and consolidate them into specific places that are important to you as well. Make sense? I went down, I geek out on this. I will fully admit that this is my thing, and I spend a lot of time in these spaces. No, we're getting close to the top of an hour, so we can speed through a couple of these things. So let's talk about creating the buying persona. Similar to what we did with target audiences, I've consolidated these things into 4 different places. Research and gather the data, very similar. Who are the people? What are their personalities? Where do they consume information? Time of day is really important. You really need to gather and understand the information that makes sense to them. What are their buying patterns? Are you a man that's trying to buy for Mother's Day in the day, for the day, as they're driving over to their mother's house? Or are you a woman that is, buying for a multitude of women? So you started your Mother's Day shopping 3 months ago to make sure that you were all set and ready. What does that person's buying pattern and habits look like? And then you need to validate and utilize those personas in your everyday talk track, not just for you, but everyone that sits on your team, because they are part of your sales continuum. They need to understand as well how, when they are interacting with the client, what their buying triggers are, what the love languages, I'm going to call them the communication languages, so that you may be able to speak with them as well. What are your thoughts on this? Uh-oh.
Yeah, no, I think we're having some technical difficulties. No, I think the breaking the buying persona down is, I love the points that you're using to break that down, and I think that's super important as well. But I kind of want to pull back a little bit to the B2B thing, because we have a big comment here. When Dana is saying that when she's worked with B2B, she's found that it's important to understand the persona of the decision maker. That's really crucial to the process.
That is a key point, understanding who the decision maker is and what makes that person tick. But I will also say it's very important to understand the persona of everyone else that enters the picture as well. The decision maker sometimes, and often in the B2B space, is not the initial person that you're speaking with. Someone else is making the introduction, or finds your business before the decision maker comes to the picture and they're brought to the table. I often say, when we're dealing with this, I encourage my clients to really embrace this thought process, because that person may have the ability to say no, but they cannot say yes. And I want you to sit in that for a second. They can't say yes, but they can absolutely say no. What does that mean? They can block your point of entry to the decision maker. They have a heavier influence on that decision maker than you do, because they have a relationship with them. So they are able to say and open the door and make a warm introduction to that person and say, here's why we need to work with this person. Or they can say, don't waste your time. They can, because of whatever reason, they can block that entry. So all of those personas are important, but that decision maker, I agree with you, Dana, we have to really understand what makes that person tick and why, what their why is and what pain points they're in and the severity of their pain. If we go through a couple of things that we did, and Tamara, if we can navigate into a couple of those, we actually have a couple of visuals on those buying personas so that we can get into that and understand what those buying personas are for each one of those segments. So we talked about Mr. Bearded Brian, and that again is the name, but his name is Brian. I gave a name for every one of these things. We talk about the demographics of him, how old he is. These things are important. Where are they located? Are they married or not? What's their income level? What are their needs? You know, he wants to promote his beard health. He wants a fuller and thicker beard in appearance. So the information that he's seeking that you're providing on your website or when you're speaking to them needs to address their needs. What pain is he in? He needs easily accessible products. He needs to find the right combination of products because he wants to be no nonsense about it. He has itchiness and irritation. So all of the words that you're putting in, the marketing needs to address all of these type concerns. You need to meet them where they are. He uses multiple Apple devices, so you can hit him on pretty much anything. He spends about 3 hours researching things on the internet. He's a very heavy social media user, so you can likely find him in the social spaces and market to him. And he's looking for, when you're attracting them, he's looking for you to serve up to him a wide range of products. He's looking for tutorials. He's trying to learn how to do these things. So he's looking for an interaction experience with you that accommodates these things. And if we go to the next one, if we go to our next young lady, I think she is going to be, our age-defying woman. Her name is Alice. When she's looking, if you look right in the center of this, her pain points are she's overwhelmed with information that's coming to her because this is the new thing, anti-aging. She wants that information to be trustworthy. That's really important to her as a pain point because she needs it to be science-backed. She's messing with her skin and she doesn't want to play around with that. She is a married woman. She's a corporate executive, so she knows in her brain what she wants to do. She's been through a few things already, so she's not interested in fluff. So those are the things that you're thinking of. She's looking to have natural products. She's looking for skin texture information. When she's looking for things, she is on websites and online. She's not really in social media. She's using some apps, but they're directly related to what she's focused in. So she's not everywhere. And when she's looking for that information, in order to capture and maintain her information, her attention, I should say, you need to serve her up tutorials. You need to give her guidance. You need to be believable, show that it's science-based. So those are things that you're looking for as you're doing things. And then that last young lady, if we go into the last demographic, I can't remember where she sits in this. Miss Megan, she's that makeup maven. She's a young lady. So think of the young people in your world and how they consume information. She's on a mobile app. Doesn't even want to talk about, a laptop device. She's very into social media. So if you want to attract her attention, hit her up in Instagram or TikTok where she's engaged because she's looking for information in that space that's going to allow her to become an expert in her space. She wants to be able to find a multitude of products because remember, she's trying to become a makeup artist. She's a young lady that is single, trying to find her way in this world and become something. So she's looking for experienced people to help her to understand things. So she needs to be visual. You need to make it really accessible to her. And you need to provide high quality, friendly information to her so that she can be believable and learn quickly in the same way that her young counterparts are learning as well. So what do you guys think about those as far as the information that I provided to you all as far as the personas are concerned?
That is a detail that once you take that information and you start to use it to action your marketing becomes invaluable. It helps you find that sweet spot so much faster. It helps you even understand where there may be gaps in how you were delivering your product to market, how you were being visible, how you were maintaining top of mind with your customer base. So I think all worthwhile, absolutely worthwhile. It's something that a lot of small businesses probably skip over or do at a very surface level, and we need to go deeper.
I am that small business that is skimming it over right now. But yeah, definitely. I love the relatability of it, though. It's very detailed that it really allows you to think about, just like you said, think about somebody in your life who's like that Megan, and how you interact with them. So it actually really helps you define how you're going to speak to them. So when you did things like that, I think about my nieces, nephews, other young people around. Oh yeah, that's how they speak. Oh yeah, that's how they interact. They're like in a whole other language, right? I have my little cousin. Sometimes he says things in the chat, and all of us who are much older go, "What is this?" So
Right.
you know,
What
it's
is
it's, it's exactly he uses all these different shorthand abbreviations, and we're just there like the older ones. Could you like expand and put a complete sentence? But it really he is a persona. Like if you were to think he would be a young person,
right? He is a
right?
person.
Exactly. So
He is a
I like
persona.
yeah, it's really relatable that
Yeah,
you could see yourself or somebody you know in it.
right. And what I find interesting, and this is really ties all of us together as we're working together when we do these personas with my clients, and I put that visual in front of them based upon the questionnaire, and we're pulling together what they're saying they want in a client. We inevitably get these nods, and I can see their head, the wheels turning, and how they're going to now speak, and the words that come to them as they're pulling in the clients, or saying, "Well, no, that wasn't the right person." It makes it really easy for the no to come to the table, for you to say qualify and qualify them out, even though the money could be there if you wanted it, to say no. And then it really works well with Tamara because she knows this is the person that she needs to market to. As we're putting the words together to put on the website in the marketing campaign, those visuals begin to make sense in pulling in the right people and attracting them into our business. Remember, I say this all the time. We invite people into our world. What are we inviting in? And these target audiences and the buying personas help to define who those people are that we're asking into our life, into our work world, and going to essentially convert that business, or we're destroying it because we didn't prep well for that person that we've invited into our space.
So Allison is saying that she loved this info. It really helped her to understand the meaning of the persona and the questions that she needs to ask to define it. So, which is awesome. We love that. And Michelle, I know you still have one more slide that we need to jump into. So
I'll go through that quickly. I told you I geek out on this stuff.
I know
I do. I really love this stuff. And who are your best customers, and are they your ideal client? All right, this is important, and I'll stay on this, and then I'll get off my soapbox. Knowing your best customers, how they match your target audiences that you defined, really does help your business move forward. Your resources and everyone within your company, whoever you have that's working with your business, once they really know who you're trying to invite into your world, it helps you to drive your business forward. It helps you to be successful. It helps you to be efficient. And it helps you to pull forward your lanyard. That's something extra that you have with your business, and be able to communicate that at the drop of a hat, because you now know who that person is, what makes them tick, and how to talk to them, or how to help them self-qualify themselves out of your business. And that's equally as important.
Man.
When I get a nod from our CFO, I know I'm on target.
Yep. CFO approved. CFO approved. I love this conversation because I really am seeing, the whole concept of targeting and niching. All these words come to mind, but it spells out for me a level of efficiency, because we're not wasting time on people and that are not going to eventually be profitable, right? And like I said, I myself, I've seen it in the couple of years that I've been doing this. I am seeing the changes that is happening to my customer base, or that is needed to be made to my customer base in order to become more profitable, right? Because, and I love how you said they may be knocking at your door, but that does not mean you have to let them in. That's a lesson I am learning. Let me tell you, that could be a whole other show how I'm learning this lesson. They could be knocking on your door, but you don't have to let them in, because really letting them in means you're going to be spending resources and time that may not match the revenue they're going to give you. So I think this whole concept of defining the target audience, really business owners really need to see it as a direct line to the money that's going to come in. It is a direct line. It's a lot of work to set up. It might seem as though you're asking questions that, oh my God, why do I need to be so detailed? Why do I need to know if they have? Why do I need to know their age exactly? I just need to know if they like the product. Yeah, but in order to connect with them and speak to them and get them to buy faster, you need to have a particular approach. So I just, yeah, I love this topic. Like I said, I felt like I was in school. Yes, Miss Gordon, great class, Miss Gordon.
I love that. But and just to kind of simplify, bring it back to just how we would use this in every day, right? That persona information. If someone is, let's just say we're looking at the 40 to 60 age group, we're looking at the 18 to 30, and I think what was the one in between the men, right? We can actually look at our Google Analytics to, number one, understand just simply who's coming by desktop and who's coming by mobile. That's going to tell us in that persona information. She said that this person uses a desktop, this person uses mobile. So if more people are coming desktop, you can kind of start to gauge, I'm hitting this portion of my personas. Only 30% of the people that are coming in from mobile. But I see more sales coming in from mobile. So I want to increase that uptake. Do I need to now focus in on providing advertising and getting in front of that persona where I know if I got the uptick, I would see more revenue. So you really start to take these personas and look at the KPIs and connect the dots, but that's a whole other show.
No. and they all tie together, time of day. When do people consume their information, on what device? Yep. When do they actually take that and actually buy? Yep. Are you delivering it at the wrong time because that's not their buying time or their viewing time?
100%. Yeah. So there's a lot behind there. Allison is saying, correct, Andrea. Sometimes we got to keep the door shut tight. All right. Well, this was Michelle. This was a game-changing topic. We love it. It's such an important factor. We talk about optimization all the time, but we don't talk about refining our target audience. So as a small business, no matter where you are in the process, you should go back and refine that audience, because as you refine, you might find there is more revenue out there, more opportunities out there. So it's something you should do as a part of your optimization process. Maybe you're not doing it every 2 months, but maybe it's something that you're looking at every 6 months. Find that time to go back and say, did I refine this audience? Has it shifted and I didn't even realize I'm still talking to them the same way? Because you could still be making the revenue that you've been making before, but there could be opportunity and missed opportunity out there. And so refining this target audience, getting to the heart of the personas is important. It's a lot of work, absolutely. But working with an agency like us, those are the things we do. Working with someone like Michelle at Lanyap Digital, that's exactly what she does. She helps you to get to that place of understanding, seeing who you're looking at right now, getting into your database of that ideal customer to see how you can continue to refine them and get more revenue. Because getting to the right target, if people don't buy from you, you don't make the money, right? So the target audience is probably the most important piece of the pie. You can have the marketing strategy, you can have the marketing formula, but if you don't have the people, then so spend a lot of time on them. So Michelle, I'm going to give you my because today was that. I gotta give you all right. Okay. So I have gone over, but I think it was so worth it going over this show. But so I'm going to say a few things to you guys. All right. Connect with us. Tell people about this show. Tell people that they can really understand. Tell the small businesses that they can really understand how to refine their target audiences here. Tell them about this show, because the show is awesome. So connect with us on YouTube, connect with us on LinkedIn, connect with us all the places that you can find a podcast, Spotify, Amazon, Apple, Google. We are in all the places. Definitely check us out there. And then come back and take a look take a look at our quiz. Test the effectiveness of your online presence. We have some persona questions. We have some target audience questions in there as well too. So it gives you an idea of if you're hitting the right people or not. And that's such an important piece of the pie. So take the quiz, take the quiz, take the quiz. The link is going to be in the description on YouTube if you cannot scan the QR code. And the link will also be in the description for the podcast. So definitely take the quiz. All right, guys, we have made it to the end of the show. This was awesome. Michelle, again, thank you so much for pulling the presentation together. Andrea, I loved the hot topic. I thought it was awesome. Michael, we just got to sit in the back and chill out today a little bit.
Yeah, just a little bit, just a little bit.
I'm not mad at that. So I got to play with sound effects and all the things. So guys, thank you so much for joining us. We definitely want to see you back here on Wednesday. Join us. We are here. Actually, you know what? We are in season 2 of this show. We wrap up season 2 in June. So I'm excited about us, getting to that place. And then of course, we're going to start season 3 in September when we all get back from summer vacation. So we're wrapping up in June. So we're getting to that place, getting to that point, but we're still going to have a lot of content to share with you guys. So definitely follow us, connect with us, and we will be talking to you guys. Have an amazing Monday. All right, take care. Bye. Take care.